We're going out on the video chat line. We've got Colby Armstrong with us from Rogers Sportsnet from Pittsburgh. There he is, the Arm Dog. How you doing, Colby?
Good. What's going on? Thanks for having me on. Looks good.
Hey, good, not as good as you, my friend. Colby, thank you on day 2 of the Rod Pedersen Show. So happy to have you. How are things in Pittsburgh today?
It's good, man. We've had a few weeks of rain down here, but we're getting set for a real hot summer apparently. But it's nice here. It's weird being here now for 4 years. I'd say I moved since I moved here, and the first 2 years I was here, they went back to back. The Penguins did, winning cups, and then the last 2 years, obviously short runs in the playoffs. So it's a little weird right now watching hockey and not being around the rink and watching the Penguins roll.
You know, I got to ask you this before we get into the Stanley Cup. Loved watching you on the Memorial Cup, watched every game, and kudos to the Huskies for winning it. Too bad the Raiders didn't come home with a win. But they're calling it the best Memorial Cup ever. You've done enough of those now. Is that true?
Well, I think that was my 4th or 5th one. I started in Red Deer, was actually my first one, which was really cool a number of years ago to get me started in it. But yeah, this, for me anyways, doing this was my best one, just for quality of teams, and obviously Halifax being the host city and losing in Game 6 of the final in the Quebec League against the Huskies, who ended up winning the Memorial Cup. You had 4 teams that were deserving to be there. No 44-day layoffs. All 4 teams came in with really the same amount of games under their belts, all the same amount tired, and all really good quality teams.
You're a Dub guy like me. You must have been asked all through that week.
Dying.
Yeah, you must have been asked all week, what's with the WHL drought at the MC? I'm saying it's a fad, not a trend. I don't see this continuing, but how are you answering that question?
Yeah, it's disappointing for me. I'm a big Dub guy, obviously. From Saskatoon, played in the Dub. It's killing me. I don't think a WHL team, besides Red Deer, who was hosting that year, Regina, who was hosting the next year, won games. The team winning the Western Championship hasn't come in and won a game at all in this tournament. So since I've been doing it, that's crazy. That's brutal. So it's a little bit tough to swallow when these OHL teams come in, like the Guelph Storm with 9 NHL draft picks that they traded for at the deadline, and you know, Prince Albert makes a couple trades. That was it. Basically the same team. I think they got Dante Hanoun, and that was really the only move they made. And come in and don't win a single game. And then you look at the travel as well. You can make excuses for that in the Western League as well. But man, I'm saying these teams got to help each other a little bit. They got to help each other. If you've got a team that's qualifying to get in there and a team that's looking to make some noise, you've got to have, I think, a little bit of help. Like, listen, there's got to be a way they can do it. These other leagues do it. They come in with draft picks and they're stacked, and they make moves at the deadline to help themselves. The Dub takes pride in going, no, we don't do that. We don't do that. And I think, we got to start thinking about that.
They used to do that here. They used to load the teams up in the Dub a little bit, not as much as the O and the Q. But one thing I've learned is the WHL teams line up to screw each other. They don't want to help each other. That's just the way. That's the truth.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. And you know what? When we won the Memorial Cup in 2001, we made a trade. Michael Garnett, shout out to Garney, Good Sasky Boys, Saskatoon, getting married this summer in Calgary. Journeyman over in Europe, KHL. But we made a trade with him and Justin Wallen to Saskatoon for Martin Erat. And it was an unbelievable trade for us to put us over the top. Cam Ondrick and Martin Erat. Cam was our backup. Marty Erat came in and made a huge difference for us. Big trade for us, made a big difference. He played the NHL the next year. But teams don't want to do that now. Teams want to hang on to their guys. And I look for a perfect example. Krebs, a player out in Kootenay Ice. They're now moving to Winnipeg. This guy's a top 15, top first-round draft pick. Their team won like 12, 15 games this year. Move him. Help a team out. Guess what? If he's not going to play in the NHL next year, I don't know how it works. Work a deal and send him back in the summer. There's got to be a way you can work it so these teams aren't going in there and getting slaughtered in every tournament in the Memorial Cup.
You need to lead that charge because they'll listen to you. They're long since they don't listen to me anymore. Before we get to the Stanley Cup, Colby, I want to ask how you got into broadcasting because obviously I've been following you for years. You were on that 01 Red Deer team that won it all here, right, in Regina?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, that was
that was
crazy
the whole
now.
thing.
It's a number of years ago.
What Doesn't seem that long to me, but I guess now that you're retired and you're into broadcasting. But what got you into broadcasting? I watched all your interviews. I watched you play. I never saw you being this wild and crazy guy on camera. You never hid. You always gave great quotes. But how did they approach you, or did you approach them?
Well, I think, first of all, I think playing in Toronto with the Leafs and then playing in Montreal my last few years in the league was beneficial, obviously, to getting into it in those A markets, up in Canada, seen a lot. It's important that way, I think, as a player to be seen that way and for people to know who you are, for one. But also, I got to give credit. I think I always kind of thought about it, but my agent really helped push me in the direction of possibly getting my feet wet. And then obviously a good opportunity was given to me in getting started. So when I retired, I lived in Saskatoon for the first year, and every night out building an outdoor rink at night, and fly to Toronto once a month and do a couple nights. And that's kind of how I got started. And I'll tell you what, I give you credit, obviously, doing this a long time, and it's harder than it looks. It takes a lot of work, and I find myself up watching games till 1 o'clock in the morning out here in the East, watching those West Coast games and staying in touch with guys and staying up to date with everything that's going on with every team. And then being good on radio or being good on camera is a whole nother beast in itself. I think I've gotten better every year. I think it's been harder than I thought, but it's been really fun to be involved with hockey still. And I got afforded a great opportunity to give it a kick and trying to make the most of it.
Well, that's the key right there is having fun, and you're honest. I mean, I'm sure you've pissed guys off along the way because that's the way that you talk. But also, I find myself when the period's coming to an end, I can't wait to hear what Colby has to say, which is exactly what you would want, right?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I think everybody's different. And you know what the hardest thing that I found is they say, be yourself, just be yourself. And it's like, well, it's kind of awkward. I'm wearing a suit, sitting at a desk, not talking exactly to the person that I'm sitting beside. And trying to talk to the audience. And I think you find out how to be yourself on camera or be yourself in that certain role. And once you get comfortable with that, I think that's when you find that little sweet spot. So I think I'm getting there every year. It's gotten better. It's taken a lot of work. And I think I like to shine the game up. I think we've got great players. I think we've got great personalities. I think we could probably do a better job at showing maybe some of the fourth line guys and stuff like that really make our game look great. I know those aren't the players that you look at for selling jerseys, like more than likely, but they're the guys that really connect with communities and people and are awesome. And I just think we've got a great product. We've got a great game. It's fun. And I try to have fun with it. And at times you got to be critical. It comes with the territory, but that's part of hockey, part of sports, and part of day-to-day life in the NHL.
Well, keep doing what you're doing. You'll have a long career for sure. And to the Stanley Cup Final. So I got the Blues in 6. We got our 3 Sasky Boys, which you alerted the world to on your Twitter account the other day. So I'm picking Blues in 6. I'm cheering for the Blues, but it's 2-2. It's down to a best of 3. How do you see this thing playing out?
Man, what a series. Hey, like, how about the game last night? Absolutely unbelievable. Like, you do not see that through 82 games. And I don't know if the Blues could play that style through 82 games, but for what it's worth, with the way both these teams play against each other, just the physicality, shift to shift, in your face. Big Zdeno Chara gets a puck in the face. The old Viking drops to the ground. He's got a cage on. He's moral support on the bench. Everyone's going head to head. It's electric. And that's the way I think hockey's supposed to be. But I'm pulling for the Blues big time. I'm in your court. I'm loving the Sasky guys. Bozak, I roomed with him with the Leafs for a few years on the road. So a good buddy of mine, Schenner, grew up a block away from me in Saskatoon, played with his brother Luke as well in Toronto. And Schwartz, who I have never met yet, but a guy just Wilcox, Saskatchewan. You got to love the way he's playing from the season he had to what he's doing in the playoff. He's surpassed his regular season goal mark here in the playoffs. He's an absolute beast. So I love the brand of hockey in this series. I love the brand of hockey that St. Louis plays with, and obviously the Saskatchewan edge puts me right over the top with those guys.
Jaden was throwing his weight around last night, which he doesn't normally do either, because it's the Cup.
He's a honey badger, man. He's sassy. He just gets in there and grinds. I love how strong he is on his stick. He's not afraid to get his nose over the puck against bigger guys and fight for it in battle. And man, all 3 of those guys are playing real quality hockey. I'm really proud. I think probably Saskatchewan Hockey Association's probably pretty proud of those guys and the way they're performing on this big stage. It's fun to watch. It's a great rallying point, and I mean, I saw guys, I think in Regina were pulling for the Vegas Golden Knights to be, their team of choice because we don't have a team. We're stuck in the middle there. But I think right now everyone should be definitely pulling for the Blues.
Absolutely. Colby, enjoy the rest of your day out there in Pittsburgh. And when they told me you were coming on, I was so stoked. So thanks for doing it.
All right. Congrats on the show. It looks great. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. The Arm Dog, Colby Armstrong.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.